is continuing education, or just, let's call it adult education, is it just a fad? Do we even need it? Is that even a thing? Timothy Jensen, Jensen Transport, Independence, Iowa. So I spend a lot of time trying to figure out what we need to do for our businesses or for myself, continuing education for myself, anything I can do to try to solve my own problems, maybe solve them faster so I have more time. But one thing I was thinking about is, like, my kids and other kids, you look at those kids and you're like, wow, they've got so much time on their hands. They could do so much with that time. They should be, maybe starting their first business, or, learning a skill, or learning how to play the piano, or doing all these great things. You guys are really good at it, and you need to just apply yourself and do it, and you've got so much time. One of the things we forget about that is they're starting at, let's call it level 0. If you're starting to play an instrument, you're starting with no skills to play that instrument. Some of it is fine motor skills. Some of it is just, at the level they're at. Maybe they're reading at maybe a 5th to 8th grade, level. If they're not in high school, they're only reading at a certain level. So then you introduce reading music, which is not only reading the words, but also reading the notes and the keys and maybe the rest. I am not a music person that way. I can't play anything. Believe me, don't have that skill. That's not a skill I have. Maybe I could develop it over time. It's just not a focus. But even like there, if I were to take the time to do it, I have different skills. I have been reading for 40 some years. I have pretty good math ability, counts, all that stuff. But when you're looking at somebody, say, between the ages of 10 and 16, those skills are new to them. They're just starting out. Their math skills and abilities aren't the fact that, they're just learning maybe geometry, algebra, no calculus, even business math, basic business math of, figuring out compound interest, amortization, things like that. They have never been exposed to those concepts. So when we ask, hey, why aren't you doing these things? You could do so much more. You're right, but say it's a drum set, they don't even know how to hold the drumstick properly yet. They're working on just those fine motor skills. Maybe we've pretend drummed or done something like that in the past, or even just held or used similar instruments like that. We miss out on that. We forget those things and those skills, those basic skills that I would say as adults, most of us have. Kids don't have that. They have to build that, and that comes through time. And that time is what builds the experience. It isn't anything else. You become an expert through experience. And that experience comes through trial and error, making bad decisions, correcting them, and making good decisions to have a better outcome than what you started. That's what experience is. You're not going to get experience reading a textbook. You're not going to get experience, reading about someone else. It's once you read about it and attempt, fail especially, but also learn from that failure. That's where the experience comes. So, is continuing education and things like that important? I would say for kids and stuff, some of that stuff you can push. How do you push that for them? They just need to practice more often. That's why they would like them to practice, even if it's 15 minutes a night. Kids learn at a different rate than adults. Kids have to have short intervals of, I would say, maybe not high intensity, but just a regular intensity, and see a lot of different concepts and topics. They need to see a lot of stuff in a short period of time. And that's how they learn and do that stuff. As an adult, you have all those small little attempts to do that. And as an adult, you need to take bigger chunks. You need to sit there for a half hour or an hour every day and practice that stuff. So is continuing education important? I think it is, but it's got to be targeted. It's got to be looking at it for an outcome in mind, unless you're just doing it for entertainment or just your basic education. It is important, but you need to focus that stuff, because that's what will help you build your skills. Now, if you're in your 40s and you don't have those basic skills that kids are trying to learn today, you've got a problem. You do, because you're gonna deal with that for the next 20, 25 years before you get to 65, 70, and you need to get that stuff sorted out now. I don't care if that means going back to school, spending time to do it yourself. Otherwise, you're gonna struggle where you're at. You're gonna be frustrated. You're not gonna understand why stuff comes out the way it is, why you can't make the money you want, why you make the decisions you want. You're gonna have to change your mindset on how you make your decisions too. But that's all gonna be a conscious choice on your part. It's not anything anybody else can force on you, because if you're in an environment like that, whether it's professional or personal, you're not going to make it. You have to change. You have to choose those choices. You have to change. That's the only way that stuff's going to work, because as an adult, nobody's going to force you to do it. They're either going to fire you when you can't, or you're going to move on because you're frustrated. So continuing education, yeah, that's important. Kids' education, definitely important, just a different way to do it. So Timothy Jensen, Jensen Transport in Independence, Iowa. Hey, I want everybody to take care out there. Looks like a beautiful day again. And we'll talk to you soon. Be great.